Continuing on with my how-to series, this is how to spend your Bitcoin. Cruising YouTube videos all day, every day like I do. It's fun when you come across a smaller channel that's just putting together really great content. So I want to point out this guy here, Darren Honeyset. Go and follow him and check out some of his videos. They're really good. I'm not going to talk a whole lot in this video because he covers it. So I'll pipe in a little bit. Ben, feel free to say something if you got something to point out, but just got some short clips here, and let's get into how you can spend your Bitcoin.
I've heard about Bitcoin, but where can I spend Bitcoin? Well, there are thousands of businesses and individuals accepting Bitcoin for their goods and services today, and I'm going to show you how to find them. My name's Darren. I help everyday people like you and me use Bitcoin. I've put together all the ways, places, and how to spend your Bitcoin. We're going to cover how to find these businesses, whether they be online or in person, how you can pay any bill with Bitcoin, a way to buy pretty much anything you want with Bitcoin. And at the end, hopefully I can prove to you that you can live off Bitcoin today, and there will be no need for you ever to hold money that is inflated away, that is held by another institution ever again. Now,
so already learning something when I watch this video. It's possible to conveniently pay your own bills and stuff with it.
I like the sound of that.
There are tools like btcmap.org. This allows you to search for businesses that accept Bitcoin. You pick an area that you're in or you're traveling to. Zooming in here, you can see all the businesses that accept Bitcoin. So let's just check out Orange County as an example. Right away, we can see there's a footwear company, salon, vape shop, lawyers, a coffee company, even a real estate agent. All these people have put their hand up and said, I accept Bitcoin for my services or product. There's other sites out there that you can reference like CoinMap or SatMap if you want to search for more kind of that Google Maps experience. Next thing we can look at are general merchant lists of people who accept Bitcoin. Something like BitList gives you a directory of people and businesses who accept Bitcoin. There are also databases like acceptlightning.com, lightningnetworkstores.com, bitcoinwide.com, and many more. One I really like is BTC server directory. BTC Pay is one of the best ways to accept Bitcoin for your business. So if they run a BTC Pay server, you know for the most part they're pretty serious and you're going to have a good checkout experience. If you like using apps on your phone, there is Oshi app. This shows you kind of a list of who's accepting Bitcoin in your area, and there's a lot of rewards you can get by buying through the Oshi app. I'll put a list of all these directories in the description so you have them all in one place. Place similar to Amazon where you can query products is something like Shop in Bit or Spend a Bit. So for example, if you're looking for like a Google Pixel, you can search it on here and it'll tell you who sells it for Bitcoin. Next place you could turn to are peer-to-peer marketplaces. This is just like your eBay, your Craigslist, your Facebook marketplace. Just like how Bitcoin is peer-to-peer, people are selling their items or services for Bitcoin online. There is plebeian.market that is built on Nostr. You can search for pretty much anything and see if somebody is selling it for Bitcoin. There is also plebeian.com. Satscrap is kind of like an eBay where individuals are selling items there. Again, all you do is find an item you want to buy, put in your shipping address, and
Satscrap.
That's crap. I like it.
check out. Now, if you have Telegram, there is a peer-to-peer marketplace on Telegram where there's people all over the world selling their services, items for Bitcoin. With Telegram's new Bitcoin wallet integration, I can definitely see this becoming more and more popular. Okay, so you've searched all these places where you want to spend Bitcoin.
Pretty cool so far, huh?
I love it. I've been selling quite a bit of stuff on eBay. I think I'm gonna look into Satscrap.
Yeah, man, it'd be good. Yeah, it's a good way to get some satoshis, get some Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah, I'd much rather sell it for Bitcoin than dollars.
With these tools, you can pretty much buy anything you want with Bitcoin. But in order to live off Bitcoin, you're probably thinking, well, what about my bill payments? What about my rent? What about my utilities? Well, with companies like Biddy.com, Coinsfer in the USA, Bitcoinwell, and Bull Bitcoin, they allow you to send Bitcoin directly to them, and they pay any bill that you have. All you have to do is set up your payee in their system. You send them Bitcoin, and they pay that bill on your behalf.
Is that cool as shit? You just set it up there and you send them Bitcoin and then they pay the bit. Like, so anything, any bill you got, maybe there's some limitations, but that's cool as shit.
Yeah, I wonder what the fee is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know there is a fee, and if it's reasonable, then it's worth it. I mean, we talk about it all the time. If you're holding Bitcoin over the long run, it's only going to get more valuable, which means everything's going to get less expensive.
Right.
You know, if Bitcoin's 50,000 a token and your cell phone bill is $100 a month, when Bitcoin becomes 100,000, now it's like your cell phone bill is $50 a month. You know what I mean? Your money has gotten more valuable, which means the stuff around you goes less, which is the exact opposite of everything right now, where the money's getting less valuable, which is making everything else more expensive.
Yeah. Get more for your money.
Now there's more and more people learning about it, more and more people using it, more and more people accepting it. As I say, first gradually and then suddenly. I put a list in the description of all the services I talked about today. If you have any questions, comments, put them down below. I'll be happy to help you. Or if you want to learn how to spend Bitcoin, use Bitcoin, I talked about where you can do it. I just didn't really talk about how you do it and how fast it actually is. I have a lot of videos on my channel explaining that. If you want, go check out my channel or send me a message. I'll be happy to help you in any way.
So there it is, man. Darren Honeysett. Lots of really good videos. So yeah, I mean, how to use your Bitcoin. We hear that all the time. How, with newer individuals is, can you even use it for anything? Yeah. Turns out you can use it for everything.
All right. You know that one of my favorite DPIN projects is Hivemapper. They've consistently let me down, starting with the very first. I'm joking a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm very impressed with it. I love Hivemapper. Number two, literally since my very first order, it's been a nightmare to deal with. But now a lot of people that I know are also doing it, and there's a lot of new, interesting things that are happening all the time with Hivemapper, and not all. I mean, some of it seems bad right now, and some of it looks really good as a company. Feels terrible as somebody who's trying to get your crypto coin to be worth more. But as a company, they're just doing a ton of cool stuff, and it's super interesting. And lately, I've been in a lot of their Discord messages and on Reddit. I've seen a lot of stuff, people saying, is Hivemapper a scam? Is this worth it? It seems like a lot of people are kind of getting frustrated with it, and they're not looking at the big pictures. But one of the updates they've done recently is they've switched their region. So I don't know how much you pay attention to stuff like this, but Hivemapper has divided the world up into regions, and they used to have a ton of regions. And so like if your region, like the Dayton, Ohio region, if it got to 80%, you got like 1.5 times multiplier. And if it got to 90%, it was like a 3 times multiplier. Well, now they've expanded all of the regions, and so it's much harder to get all of that mapped.
Yeah, boy.
So nobody's really hitting the multipliers. So people are making less coins. But one of the things that does as a company is you're paid for how much driving you do per region. So people who kind of, for me, I was going through 3 or 4 regions a day between Cincinnati, Columbus, and the Dayton region when I'm driving for Uber. So each time I drive in there on each different entry and exit, it's a whole different payment because they pay based on the pictures that you take inside there. So then at the end of the week on Thursdays, when I got paid, I'd have 25 or 50 deposits from like the single dash cam. And then I had 2 dash cams. So I was doing a ton of that. So one of the things they did so they could have less deposits, or they called it fewer, larger deposits. Fewer, larger deposits, not fewer, larger. Anyways, so now it's harder to get outside of your region, but that does slow it down. That does make the multipliers less likely to be achieved. And now that they're not doing the 1 honey token per kilometer of unmapped roads, you're just not making as much as you used to. So here's where I'm at in Ohio. Dayton used to be just this little circle right here, and now it includes all of Springfield, all the way up, to probably, I think it stopped. Man, it stopped way down here. It stopped at Pequa last time before they redid the maps, and then it goes all the way over to Indiana. So that's huge. I also happen to look at Wichita because I'll be in that area soon. I'll be moving over there. Yep. Kansas has the Wichita, the Kansas City Metro, which also includes a good chunk of Missouri, and then the rest of Kansas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it used to be most of Wichita was one little area, and so the rest of Kansas. So it's very unlikely that this region progress will ever get, high enough for a multiplier, because right now it's been only hit 14%, because that's just so much mapping out there, in Western Kansas. It's unlikely that those roads are going to get hit. But when you think about it from a company perspective, and you think about it like, okay, they're not really just trying to get as many coins out there as possible. They're trying to build a viable company that works with real world company. I mean, they're trying to sell this data to companies that can use the freshest map data in the world. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like roads that have been mapped this week, multiple times this week, different times a day this week. So it's like they got to think about how they can make this last for long enough for it to become profitable, And so one of the things they talked about was less deposits. And by doing less deposits, they're using, even though transaction fees are low on Solana, it eats up a lot of time. It eats up a lot of information. They got to process a lot of stuff. And it was making the payments get later and later. It's supposed to come every Thursday, and it was there Thursday morning when I woke up. And then recently it was Thursday, and then throughout the day. And then it was getting, on busy weeks, like you could still be getting deposits well into Saturday and Sunday. So with the fewer deposits, it should be easier for them to get everybody paid on Thursday, which will make it more consistent, which is a big thing, I think, in the terms of, again, I look at it in two different ways, is the company, and then I'm trying to get rich. And somebody put it really good in the Reddit chat. He said, unfortunately, because this real world company pays out in crypto, everybody either needs to get rich in 6 weeks or they start calling it scam. And there's literally people asking if Hivemapper is a scam. And I'm thinking, out of all the crypto projects that are out there, Hivemapper has a research and developed, proprietary hardware that they have designed specifically for, that they've spent a ton of time, that they sell for real world dollars. You buy it, you put it in your, it's like they've put so much work into this scam, if it's a scam, that I just don't, you know what I mean?
We've talked about this a bunch before. One of the curses of Web3 is you're constantly updated with new information and stuff that's going, where like in the Web 2 world, you don't know about things that are happening. And so therefore you don't even know. And then they come out and say, hey, by the way, we just did this. And you're like, oh, that's awesome. Now they're like, hey, we're going to try and do this. And it takes 2 years to get to that point. And the whole time in between, people are like, scam, you said you were going to do it. And now they're like, yeah, we told you it was going to take 2 years. Scam, so it's transparency, but it also brings up all, and like you said, everybody is trying to get rich fast.
And it makes it rough because even projects like Hivemapper, they're like, in between then, you can talk to our CEO on the Discord chat. You know what I mean? Like, and so people get in there, and it's like, I've been replied to several times by the CEO of and I am nobody but a troll on the internet. And several times, the CEO of Hivemapper has responded to me going, that's bad information. Don't tell people that. And that was back when I was telling people they should go ahead and fork out the money to buy a camera on eBay, because there is money to be made. Now, I was saying that back when there was money to be made, and he kept saying, this is like a passive, just have it in your car and just be happy that it earns a little bit of token. At the time, I didn't get it, because I was like, I'm making thousands of dollars a week. Don't tell me not to buy. I mean, I spent $2,000 on a camera, and it was like I made it back in 10 days in honey tokens. And that was when the coin was 30 cents a coin. And they had the foundation reward for the unmapped roads. And I was in an area where there was a lot of unmapped roads, and I was cleaning up. Now it makes sense why he's like, hey, don't go spend $10,000 on 4 cameras, because, and not only that, but they're getting to the point now where they're realizing the HDC, which is the camera that they're currently using.
Yeah.
It just can't keep up with all of the AI processing that now they've moved from their cloud service to point of camera. So it's taken a lot longer to process the images and upload them to your phone or download them off the camera, because they're doing the edge technology, weeding out the bad pictures, and they're making sure that the GPS lines up. There's a lot of stuff happening on that camera, and that camera is just a first edition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is an early generation iPod. Yeah, and they're already, but they don't have the Honey Bee ready to go. The new camera, it's not ready to go. So they're still selling the old cameras. And, you know, I've got a buddy that ordered some early January, and it'll be July in a couple of weeks, and still has not got his. And it's like, it makes sense why some people are nervous, but there's a ton of people like canceling their bees, their honey bees, and they're like, it's not worth it. I'm not waiting for it. And I keep thinking, I think the project is so good that I can't wait for those bees. Plus, I paid for my bees with the honey I made for my HDCs. So I'm in the positive. And in fact, with the 4,000 honey, as long as that coin is worth 12 cents or 12 and a half cents when I get it, they'll pay for themselves just by getting the bonus. So plus, I think, and this is what you were talking about, in projects like this, you know, they come out and it's like, this is the beta test, basically. They're like, all right, let's see how we do on a grand scale. And it's like, ooh, this one's not working. They're not going to release a B with all the same problems that the HDC has. Yeah. They're going to, by the time they come out with it, they'll have fixed a lot of those problems, and that'll be a high earning machine. So it's exciting to think about where it's going. It is definitely slower right now than what it was when we first started earning, and they had all the foundation rewards and they were trying to build excitement. But when you think about it, I mean, even on slow weeks, I mean, really slow weeks. And I honestly have not had a week where I've only made 20 or 50 bucks. But my older brother, he's like, man, I'm lucky, 50 bucks a week, 1,000 tokens, you know, or something like that. And I haven't had that because I just drive quite a bit more. But if you think about the effort that goes in to mapping, I mean, if you're not out driving, and this is where Ariel, the CEO who responded to me on Twitter, this is, I think, the point he was trying to make when I was telling everybody, pay whatever, get a camera at any cost and go drive, because I was making so much money. He's like, this is like a passive in your spare time while you're driving for other things. This is not meant to be the primary source of income. Right. And as their upgrades and all the stuff, I forgot what they call them, MEPs or something like that, as they're getting where they need to be as a company, it's changing stuff. As they get more mappers on the road, they can't pay everybody what they were paying 6 months ago. So it's like, it's falling into more of a, oh, it's kind of cool because I made 50 bucks last week and I made 100 bucks. You know what I mean? Like, and as the coin fluctuates, it's worth more, it's worth less. It's very cool. And there's very few things you can do that require so little effort to just get 50 bucks, 100 bucks worth of crypto dumped into your decentralized wallet every week that you can save or that you can spend on something else. I think last week I got almost 4,000 tokens, and the coin's like at 7 or 8 cents. So it was still several $100 worth of honey tokens. And
and that's at current prices. The project is doing some impressive stuff. And on the surface, I know I thought, how many uses are there actually for this? And then as I started to read into it, I was like, oh my gosh, there's, insurance companies, real estate companies, lawn company, like it is infinite for good content. So if a company is quality only going to increase, which means their token is only going to become more valuable, which you've experienced some of. So yeah, you got to have more of a long-term, not get rich quick, because it really is. You plug it in and you drive around, and then you make sure it gets uploaded. And that's the slow version. The B's, it'll do it on its own.
Right. That's the best part, is when it really becomes passive. Then it's like, well, I don't care if it's earning $10 or $100 a week. It's just free money that just comes in. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself, that this appears to be a very good company with a very good product that are making very good leaps, with a viable product that is very marketable and sellable. And the token price is irrelevant to that. It's a crypto, so it's kind of fluctuating up and down with the way crypto goes. If it's got a lot of hype, it goes up. If people are thinking it's a scam, it goes down.
Yeah, boy.
But this is an actual real world company with real people selling a real product that's actually usable by non-crypto companies. You know what I mean? They're just kind of, they fall into that crypto category. So instantly people are like, I don't know about it. I think that if they made their payments every week, one, it would be way harder, because they would have to pay, 20 different countries' currencies out to all the drivers. So it'd be way harder. But if you told somebody, a non-crypto person, that they could put this camera into their car, and every week it would just give them $25 in American cash that would be sent straight to their Bank of America account, they'd think it's the coolest thing in the world.
Good point.
But the fact that it's a crypto coin, and it's like, well, sometimes it's $20 and sometimes it's 100, but depending on what the token say, everything just starts to, people who have the aversion to crypto, they're going to have an aversion to the project. No matter how cool the project is, it's like, oh, that's a crypto thing. It's like, no, it's a mapping thing.
I'ma bet you can't do this.
It's like a Google Maps thing. It's like a street map. It's like, it's bringing, all the roads information in the world. Like, you can find out exactly what this road looked like yesterday or today or this morning. Like, it's the freshest map ever developed, and they just happen to pay out in crypto. And if you left that last part off, a lot more people would think it's really cool.
Let me ask you a question, side note here, because as I was reading some of their updates here this week, do you receive a higher percentage for like the more area that you drive? Like, is there barriers there? Like, if you get if my percentage of unmapped roads is, 40% of my total percentage, I get more tokens for that. I thought I kind of read something that so that they're trying to get you to get some unmapped roads and not just your regular routes, which are
right. So they don't do the unmapped roads bonus anymore. Unmapped means they've never been mapped, but they do a refresh rate where if it's been mapped in the last 7 days, it pays, let's just say, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but let's say it pays 1/10 of what it would pay if you drove a road that hasn't been mapped in 7 days. So there's definitely a benefit to take a few side roads, get off of the main roads, and just kind of take an alternate route when you're coming and going from work. But they used to have, if you drove on a road that had never been drove before, for every kilometer you drove, you got a honey token. On top of getting paid for mapping the road, that was just a bonus on top of all the other stuff that you got. It was a foundation reward. But yes, there's a little bit more of a benefit to drive on roads that haven't been mapped in the last 7 days, but there's not as much of a benefit to drive on an unmapped road. And the reason they gave was, most of the roads that companies would be curious about are usually mapped, are at this point mapped. Nobody really needs the information on what this, 52 county road in western Kansas between two farms. Nobody really needs to know what that dirt road looks like. But now that all of the major cities have been mapped at least once, when you think about, in comparison to Google Maps that maybe do it once every year, once every 2 years, this has been mapped in the last, basically in 2024, and it gets mapped every 7 days at least. And most of these places, these high volume roads, are getting mapped multiple times a day. So those will get paid less than if you are in those big cities, but you use smaller roads.
Gotcha.
With all that being said, I don't know the exact numbers. I don't know the exact, I remember, again, one of the things Ariel told me on Twitter was when I was like, man, you got to get out and be finding these unmapped roads. He's like, we don't really care about unmapped roads because at this point, the unmapped roads are not roads that people drive because they've been doing it for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, so I would drive down to Kentucky, and I'd just be going through these boony hills, and it makes sense now. Who's going to pay for that information? They're not as interested in that information as they are good quality imagery of the freshest data available of major cities that advertisers, that people who would want to buy that information want. Unfortunately, when you have 10 drivers in Dayton, it doesn't make any sense for me to go way out of Dayton to find roads that nobody cares about. I'm competing for the data and the honey in Dayton. So that's just, you're going to make less, especially in deep in projects. The more successful this project becomes, the less tokens you're going to get paid. Yeah. But I think crypto as a whole right now is kind of like in a lull, kind of trying to see where we're at. But when we realize, when the company starts letting on how successful it is, when they start letting us know who they're selling this information to, when they start really burning, they do token burns when they sell the information. So if Nike wanted all of the billboards on Highway 70 between Dayton and Wichita, they would get honey and they would buy that information in honey. And then the honey company, Hivemapper, would burn all those tokens. So when they burn all those tokens, then if you mapped some of that, you get a consumption reward. Somebody actually paid for your information, but they burn those tokens, which means all the tokens that are left become a little bit more valuable. Mm-hmm. Once people start realizing how that works, and once we start getting more customers buying the data from a Hivemapper, they'll be burning more, we'll be selling more, there'll be more money coming in, and the token price will go up. So even if you're, we know this, if you've been in crypto for a long time, 1,000 tokens at a penny is not as good as 10 tokens at $2 a piece.
Right.
You know what I mean? What? Yeah, that's right.
I saw, which they didn't say who it was, of course, but they said they have now, Hivemapper has an agreement with 2 of the 10 largest mapping companies in the world now. So, I mean, it is happening. That is crazy to think of. I didn't know that. I think you've mentioned it, but I didn't really think about that. The more that people are onboarded, the more tokens that are being burned, value of the token becomes more and more.
Right. So they've got a set amount that they pay out every week based on, so if there's 1 million drivers, or if there's 100,000 drivers, and then now there's 1 million, everybody's getting paid 10 times less or whatever. But the idea is that when the token starts to catch traction again, right now it's at 7 cents, but even as recently as November, December of last year, it was over 40 cents. So once all that starts to catch back up, and once the actual fundamentals of the business and people say, hey man, this isn't a crypto company, this is a viable real world business. Once all that picks up, the token price will hopefully go up. And then even though you're earning less tokens, they are more valuable. And that's the goal. And that's what I'm hoping. And that's why I'm hanging on to my honey tokens right now, waiting for that next spicy bull run.
Deep in Ben, he's on it.